Hello family, welcome back to another YouTube video. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Lucy Brown. I surely do hope that you enjoy this video and the content as well. And if you do indeed, please do make sure that you consider becoming part of this family by hitting the subscribe button down below. Before you also continue to watch the video, please do make sure that you give the video a thumbs up, a massive thumbs up. Remember, liking the video basically just helps YouTube recommend this video to a larger audience. Also, if you would like to be notified whenever I upload fresh, new, crispy content, which is every Mondays and Wednesdays, by the way, please do make sure that you smash the notification bell down below. As you've seen from the title of today's video, we are talking about prayer. In Christianity, prayer is a fundamental means of communication between an individual or individuals and God. It's a way to express one's thoughts, their feelings, their needs, or even their desires to God. Prayer is a central aspect to the Christian faith. We are known when we speak of Christians, or when we should be speaking of Christians, we should be speaking of people who are prayerful. I once heard a quote from a very wise person who actually said this, and they actually said, a man who does not pray, and by the way, men, I'm referring to humanity, both male and female, and not just the gender. A man who does not pray is a very proud man, and that is so true. Prayer just is a way of us showing our reliance on God, and it is also a way of us communing and fellowshipping with God. So when we talk about Christians, we are talking about people who are prayerful. So if you are a Christian, you need to be a prayerful one. At times you hear people ask questions like, why do people spend so much time in prayer? Like, what are you saying to God that is so big? Like, what are you addressing? Like, are your sins that huge that you need to take so long to pray, or that you spend so much time in prayer? Because the misconception, especially with people who aren't Christians, sometimes even with people who are Christians, is that prayer is just there for addressing, asking God for forgiveness, asking him for whatever you need, and checking out basically. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about the several different purposes that prayer serves. Point number one, worship. We do not only worship God when we sing unto him hymns and songs that are slow. I used to actually think that worship was just slow songs and praise was the fast songs. But as Christians, we also use prayer to worship and to glorify God, and to also acknowledge his greatness, his love, and his power. So we express our worship to God through prayer. So what we are actually doing is that we are engaging in an actual profound act of awareness, of reverence, of being in awe and adoration towards God. In worship, we recognize the greatness of God, his infinite wisdom, and his sovereignty over all things. So prayer allows us to actually express all of that in wonder of the creator of the universe. Point number two, thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a vital aspect of a Christian's prayer life. I spoke about in my previous video, one of my previous videos, I spoke about gratitude, of how gratitude has basically changed my life. Gratitude, i.e. thanksgiving. If you would like to check out that video, please do make sure that you do so after this video. Thanksgiving is so important, guys. I cannot overemphasize, well, all of these things I'm about to mention are important, but Thanksgiving is so important. Especially, I mentioned in the previous video that I start off my prayer with Thanksgiving because it just shifts my heart and my position, the position of my heart in prayer to a different level. Like, just watch that video and it will explain to you. But Thanksgiving is so vital to a Christian spiritual life. Thanksgiving is just a way of expressing our gratitude and our deep sort of appreciation to God for the blessings, for the provision, for the protection, all of the good things and the bad things that come in our lives. It's a way of focusing on the positive aspects and recognizing those positive aspects in your life as gifts from God. We also express our thankfulness for God's provisions, such like food on our table, a shelter upon our head. At times, we express our thankfulness for God's provision. And at times when we think about God's provision, we're thinking about the big stuff that we've been praying to God about. But what about the food on our table? Because at the end of the day, even though we are working very hard to get the money that we have to then buy the food, it is still God who gives us the strength to be able to go out and work. So just being thoughtful that everything that we do and everything that we have, though yes, we can applaud ourselves for the hard work and how hardworking we are, but we should never ever neglect the aspect that it is God that still gives us the strength to still go out and work and put food on our table, to have a roof upon our head. That is still God's provision, and not just only in the things that are tangible. What about thanking God for the love that we have, the support that we have? So that's really the attitude that thankfulness breeds through prayer. We are all of a sudden grateful for love, for support. We are grateful for forgiveness from God, right? Forgiveness of sins. We are thankful that we are His children. We are thankful for His hand upon our lives. It's just a deep sense of appreciation that comes when you just add a thankfulness in your prayer life, especially if you're going to start off your prayer with thankfulness, and when you just imbibe and carry thankfulness in your heart and in everything that you do. So thankfulness through prayer is a way of us affirming God's goodness, and this in turn then fosters a deep sense of trust and dependence on God's loving nature. Point number 3, petition. Petition in Christian prayer is the act of bringing one's requests, their needs and desires before God. It demonstrates trust in God's ability to provide guidance, help and support. And this means that we can ask for God's wisdom, His direction and His understanding in our lives. Petitioning God for help can be for anything. It's not only just about, asking for physical things or just spiritual things. It can just mean that you asking God for just strength. At times it's just asking God for peace, that God, just give me the peace to go through the storm or the situation, that I'm not asking you, God, to take away the thorn in the flesh or to take away whatever is going through in my life, but just give me the peace and the strength for whatever I'm going through. So petitioning God can literally be for anything. Like there isn't anything too small, there isn't anything too big to ask of from the Lord. And this truly expresses our reliance on Him as a provider for peace, as a provider for health, as a provider for all of these things that I mentioned. It expresses, when we ask of God, we are expressing our reliance on Him. So if we do not know how to ask of God, it is in a sense saying that we are proud people. So prayer is also an expression of us relying on God for all of these things in our lives, and believing indeed that He will come through for us concerning the things that we call on Him for. Petition is a way of us connecting with God on a personal level, and that produces intimacy and strengthens the relationship that we share with the Lord. Point number 4, intercession. Intercession in prayer is a powerful and it is a compassionate act. It is us praying on behalf of other people. It is us putting ourselves in the shoes of other people. It is us praying to God on behalf of other people for God to heal them, to bless them, or to come through for them. I think it is a powerful way of just demonstrating love and empathy towards believers. If you truly love someone, you will pray for them. If you truly love your church, you will pray for them. Whatever you love that is truly dear to your heart, you will pray about it. So intercession is us bringing the needs of others before God. We see Jesus saying that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your soul, your might, and your strength. And then he goes on to say the second one is the same as the first, that you should love your neighbor as you love yourself. So us fulfilling the commandments that Jesus then says is then a summary of fulfilling the commandments in the Old Testament is us loving our neighbors. So if you love God, you love your neighbor. And I'm going to extend it by saying that if you love God, you will love your neighbor. And if you love your neighbor, you will pray for them. If you love your brothers and sisters, you will pray for them. And that is intercession, standing in the gap and praying on behalf of someone else. We are called to die to self, and dying to self basically speaks of selflessness. So what intercession does is it reflects our value of selflessness as we uplift the needs of others in prayer. So as we pray for ourselves, we must develop the culture of praying for other people. And praying for other people, not only our friends that we love and our family that we get along with. We must develop the culture of praying for people that we don't feel as if we love, or people that aren't necessarily our friends or not our favorite people, and people who aren't our families as well. Point number 5, communion. Communion or fellowship, the other word for communion is fellowship. So communion or fellowship in prayer goes beyond the act of requesting or having request for God in prayer or asking him to meet your needs. It's a deeper level of connection with God, and it aims at nurturing a personal relationship, seeking guidance and listening for his voice. It's an intimate dialogue that basically allows believers to experience God's presence in their lives. My husband was actually teaching on a sermon a few weeks back, and he was talking something along the lines of that it is our desire should not only be to look forward to Jesus' second coming, when Jesus is going to come back and restore everything back to order, where corruption is going to be done away with. And all of those things are beautiful for us to look forward to Jesus coming back and us receiving our glorified bodies and us finally receiving a different and a higher frequency of peace, if I can put it in that way. But our desire should be to experience Jesus in the now. That Jesus wants us to experience him in the now, to experience him in real time, to experience him in our daily lives, for us not to just speak of Jesus and his great works, which are beautiful, that he forgave us and all of those things, but that when we go to our prayer places, when we are in our prayer closets, that we may have that fellowship, that experience with him. That's the communion, and that's the fellowship that I'm referring to, and that's the fellowship and the communion that we should strive for in our prayer lives, for an experience with God. Communion is a two-way interaction. It's not just about us just voicing out, like I mentioned. It's deeper and it's more than us voicing out our needs and telling God, this is what I need, and all of that. It's a two-way street. It's us voicing out the things that are on our minds, and us voicing out the things that are in our hearts. But it's also about us being in a place or positioning ourselves to hear what God actually wants to say, to hear what God is actually saying. So it's a two-way interaction that fosters familiarity, trust, and a sense of closeness. Communion is a way of us aligning our plans and desires with God's intentions. At times we may have plans and we might have desires, but it might not be in alignment with God's intentions and with what God wants for our lives. And the only way we're going to find out about that is through our fellowship and our communion that we have with the Lord. That at times we're going to pray about a plan and God just does not give you peace concerning that plan in prayer. So truly, communion puts our hearts, it puts our plans in check with God's intentions. Not only that, communion also serves as a source of nourishment. That means as we connect with God, we may experience spiritual growth and character development. It is very much possible for you to have a prayer life, to pray and not have communion with God. So meaning that you are praying, but you're still not getting nourishment from the act of prayer. And that could mean that you just don't have that communion and that fellowship with God. You're just talking, but you're just not allowing the Lord or the Holy Spirit to communicate back to you, to speak into your life, to speak into those dry bones in your life, and to give you or to bring about the peace in your life that you truly need. And that speaks to, yes, in prayer, at times, yeah, we might rush to be done with prayer because there's so many things that we need to do, right? But at many times we just need to sit and ask the Lord to speak to us. We just need to sit in it and be in expectation of the Lord speaking to us. So truly, that's what we need to be striving for us, yes, to voice out the things that we need, to bring people before prayer, to thank God for everything, to worship God, but most importantly, to have a healthy relationship with the Lord. Your personal relationship and your personal ministry with the Lord in your prayer places is much more important than your public ministry. So yes, we want to be known as people of prayer. Yes, we want to be known as people of the word outwardly, and we want to minister to people. But before we minister to people, may we take care of ourselves and our inner selves, and that's through taking care of our personal relationship in the private or secret places. So yes, guys, I'm actually going to end it off right here with just a mini quick encouragement that if you are struggling to pray, find someone that you know, find a prayer partner. Starting off with a prayer partner always does assist. Find a prayer partner where the person is going to or where you guys are going to pray together. Maybe join together a list of people, of churches, of things to pray for. That will truly help you grow in your prayer life, not only in your prayer life, in your spiritual gifts as well. If you are struggling to pray alone in your secret places, before you go pray, maybe try and play a worship song that really does make you feel close to God, or listen to a sermon before your prayer time, or maybe even pray during a time that you know you're going to be your most productive, where you're not going to fall asleep or experience any sorts of distractions. There's truly so many ways that you can go about it. Again, I do have a video on how to grow spiritually. You can check out that video as well. When we're speaking about goals, guys, may one of our goals be to grow spiritually. May one of our goals be to grow spiritually, and to grow or to be more spiritual or at a better place in our spiritual lives than we were the previous year. Again, if you have not liked this video, please do make sure that you give this video a massive thumbs up. Remember, it basically helps YouTube to recommend this video to a larger audience. Leave a comment down below and tell me what are your thoughts on prayer. What did you think on this video? Again, if you have not subscribed, please do make sure that you subscribe to this channel. And also, if you would like to be notified whenever I upload fresh and new crispy content, please do make sure that you smash the notification bell down below. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you on the next one.